presents to you Honest Talk.
Today we are again back with one more great personality, Mr. Harish Bijur. Harish Bijur is a brand expert and CEO, Harish Bijur Consults Incorporated, a private label consulting practice that operates in the realm of brand and business strategy. The company has a presence in the markets of Hong Kong, Seattle, London, Istanbul, Dubai and the Indian subcontinent. Harish is a public speaker who speaks to corporate audiences across the globe in the realm of motivation, people management issues, brands, marketing and business at large. He has spoken to corporate audiences across the world for 15,812 hours to date. So, let's begin our session with our today's guest, Mr. Harish Bijur.
First of all, thank you so much for joining and agreeing to share your thoughts with us. We are extremely very happy to have you for today's talk.
My pleasure.
Thank you so much, sir. So moving to the topic of today's session, which we have chosen, is the importance of setting smart marketing goals. Sir, as we all know, you have gained so much experience into this field. So, sir, I request you to, sir, kindly please tell our viewers about why it is important and crucial to set a smart marketing goal for a business.
Okay, see, the thing is, marketing is a very, very important discipline. And if you really look at it, marketing is something that nobody can do without. I have always believed that there are two kinds of people in the world. One is a marketing person, people like you and I maybe, who market to others. And then the second kind of a person is the person who's marketed to. And therefore, marketing is a very, very important science. It is not only a science, but it's an art and a philosophy as well. Therefore, it's extremely critical for marketers to set completely smart marketing goals. Now, what the smart marketing goal is a different subject. Possibly we'll discuss a little bit of it today. But extremely critical to say that any marketing plan which a company does make must be based on the constituency of the consumer. Is the most important element of your marketing plan. And a smart marketing plan is one that is consumer-centric. A smart marketing plan is one which tries to understand who your consumer is. A smart marketing plan is one which keeps your finger on the pulse of the consumer. A smart marketing plan is one which believes in consumer insight. Essentially, what I'm saying is, a smart marketing plan is totally centric to the changing needs, wants, desires, and aspirations of the customer.
All right, sir. It was really a wonderful answer from your side. So, sir, my next question to you is that, sir, what do you believe and how one can define the smart marketing objectives?
Well, smart marketing objectives are differentiated marketing objectives. By differentiated, I mean there are so many people in the market. There are so many marketeers in the market. Take, for instance, a bottle of water, mineral water. There are a total of 256 active mineral water players in the market. Out of these, 81 advertise. And out of these, about 12 advertise on television. So, even if you take the numbers of those who advertise on television, it simply means to say that there are too many players in every space. So being smart is being different. Being smart is having access to a consumer insight which is going to make your offering different. And that's where we tend to focus most of the time. A smart marketing plan is not something that you can read up in a textbook. Is not something that you studied in your MBA course. A smart marketing plan is something that comes from the market. And this market knowledge is something that we focus on. And in my entire consulting practice, in the last 21 years that we've been running the company, we focus on gaining unique consumer insight. Unique consumer insight that makes your one brand of bottled water stand out from those 12 promo brands which are advertising on television and those hundreds of brands that are in the market. And I think differentiation is what does it. A smart marketing plan is one which focuses on differentiation.
Sir, what do you believe? What are the common mistakes people do while setting smart marketing goals?
Well, one of the biggest mistakes is the fact that most of the time people tend to copy what someone else is doing. When you do something that every Tom, Dick, and Harish is doing, then you can go wrong. You must be careful to be doing things which are different. And differentiated marketing is the first thing that people don't follow mostly. Most people tend to copy. Most people tend to do things in a textbook style. If you really look at real successes in the market, it's that one company which does things differently and stands out apart from the rest.
All right, sir. Sir, my next question to you is, if we talk about customer and brand relationship, so sir, what do you believe why customer relationship management is so important for a brand or a business?
Well, again, I'm saying, the word customer is a very important word, okay? And the customer is the guy who gives us the money. Most of the time when I talk to people, when I talk to people in companies, when I talk to employees, I ask them, who pays your salary? And most of the time, when I ask them who pays their salary, they tend to say it is GE, or it is Hindustan Unilever Limited, or it is Procter & Gamble, or a Nestle. But I tell people, it's not the company that pays you your salary. Your salary comes from your consumer. Your consumer buys a product, and that product money rolls out into the company, and it cascades the entire enterprise. Your essential salary is paid by your consumer, and therefore it's very, very important for you to be consumer-centric, focused on the consumer, and therefore whatever you do must be in the interest of the consumer, not necessarily in the interest of the company you work for. Now that is a bit of tumult causing, as a statement, but that's important. You work as an individual in a company, basically you work for the consumer. And therefore customer centricity is it. Customer, if happy, comes back to you and enrolls the money. The customer, if unhappy, there goes kaput, your entire brand. So customer service, relationship, management of the customer service process, having a seamless understanding of who your customer is and catering to that customer is completely critical. It's a metric which you just cannot ignore.
It was again a really wonderful answer. I think those who are watching this session, it will be really much fruitful for them. Sir, as right now we have seen that our life is much more influenced by the all social medias platforms. So sir, what do you believe the traditional marketing and the digital marketing, how both are different, and how both are creating impact in different ways?
You see, I seriously believe that there is typical old marketing, which used to believe in television, print, radio, and a little bit of digital and outdoor. Now that is getting reformatted. We are moving from that era to the digital era. Digitalism is the new religion in our lives, in the sense that anything that you do today is digital. Bulk of the people don't even know where your body stops and the digital begins, or where your body stops and the digital device begins. Bulk of customers in India, consumers, youngsters, are forever on digital mediums, and therefore digital is the new medium to focus upon. Digital is important because digital is on literally 24/7. In the sense that digital is accessed by volition of the consumer. It is not pushed down at the volition of the broadcaster. So digital is a permission-based medium, where you get onto a digital medium at 2 a.m. and you are surfing, and out there you are picking things of what you want, and if advertising which is tailored around what you want is geared and delivered to you, that's great. So digital is permission-based, digital is volition-based, whereas physical or the rest of mediums is actually push-based. So push-based advertising is going to go out of fashion, slowly. Not all of a sudden, but slowly. Which means to say that we need to be cautious about television, print, radio, etc. outdoor, which is all push-based. There is something called pull-based, and digital is pull-based. And pull-based is going to grow because literally every human being on earth is going to be a digital animal. Every one of our 1.3 billion people in this country are going to be digital at some point of time. At the point of time, we're talking about 660 million people who are digital animals. Everybody has a WhatsApp access. Literally everybody who has a mobile smartphone or access has got WhatsApp access, and that's going to deepen. So digitalism is certainly the new religion.
All right, sir. Sir, if we talk about the future of marketing, then will it be totally digital based?
Not really. It will not be totally digital, but it will be a cusp of the physical and digital. It is a yin and yang. You have to draw a circle, and in that circle there are two pieces. At this point of time, it's quite likely that 78 is physical and 22 is digital. Now this could right reverse go differently of being 78 digital and 22 physical. So both will exist, and both will be a seesaw kind of a medium. So if you're a marketer, you have to have some of your eggs in physical and some of your eggs in digital.
All right, sir. Sir, if we talk about the advantage of digital marketing over the traditional marketing, then what are these?
Well, digital marketing is, as I said, very pull-based, it's volition-based, and therefore that's one of the benefits. The second is digital marketing can be very quick. It's nanosecond oriented. You can keep changing what communication you're putting out there very quick and fast. There is no time lag in your communication. You can be swift, and we live in a swift era. So the strength of digital is also the fact that it comes out of a medium which is 24/7 with you. Take the mobile phone in your hand or in your pocket. This is something which is on 24/7. A lot of us keep our phones on 24/7. We keep it very close to our hearts, right in our pocket. And this phone is possibly closer to our heart physically than our spouses. So if you really look at it, I think, extremely important to understand that the mobile phone is very, very seamless, looked at kind of a medium. During the lockdown period of COVID-19, an average Indian actually interacted with his mobile phone or television or desktop or any other digital device for as long as 5 hours 22 minutes. And 5 hours 22 minutes is a lot of time in a single day, which simply means to say that this is a fantastic medium and its potential is still underexploited.
All right, sir. What we have seen is a startup business is always at high risk. Not even the big entrepreneur could have avoided this. Sir, what are the certain challenges that every growing business face at their initial stage?
Well, the ratio of success in a startup business is very, very low. But that does not mean that you cannot start up and you must not start up. The ratio of success today in India is 1 out of 46. Actually lasts for more than 3 years, a startup. 1 divided by 46. And that multiplied into 100 is the percentage chance of success for a startup into 3 years. That same startup actually going further beyond 3 years, now that is a game of challenge to say which proposition works and which does not. Essentially, my belief is startups are great things to be involved in, but extremely important to be involved with it in a savvy manner. You need to have the correct kind of mentors because it's all about mentorship. If you have the right mentor, you will not make a mistake on a startup in the early days. And my advice is you must be passionate about your ideas, but have a set of passionate mentors as well with you in your kitty before you step into the market.
All right, sir. It was really a wonderful answer. Again, I think those who are watching this session will take something much, much big from this session. Sir, my next question to you, sir, what we have generally observed is that some people believe that let's first work in corporate world and take some experience, then we will start our own venture. In other case, we have seen that many successful entrepreneurs, those who have started their journey from college itself. So sir, what do you believe, what is the right time to start to going into this entrepreneurship?
Well, this is the standard question that I keep getting, particularly when I teach at management schools, where students who are just about passing out are asking this question. My view is extremely critical to have an idea and have a passion at the back of your head. And I think it's also extremely critical for you to notch up some bit of work experience in a corporate enterprise. Go join a corporate enterprise, understand its strengths and weaknesses, understand everything that goes right in a corporate enterprise, and try and bring back that learning into your own enterprise. I think 2 years of work experience is a minimum before you actually step out and start out on your own. Because when you get out of a management school, you get out with a lot of theory. Most management schools teach you on a 90-10 basis, in terms of saying 90% of it is stated from textbooks, case studies, and with all the best case approaches from across the world. And curriculum is also leveraged more towards Western countries, because a lot of the case studies that you study come from the West. In India, in a typical management B school, in a business school, you will typically see as much as 72% of everything that's taught is from overseas. And in some schools, literally 100% is from overseas, because the best case studies are written from out there. None of these case studies actually work in the Indian context. India is a dynamic country, a tumultuous country. It's a very taste-oriented country. In the swag of India, as I would call it, is the swag of India. The swag of India is that every 3 kilometers you go, the food taste changes, the clothing changes, the attitude changes, the language changes, the lingo changes, the bad language changes, everything changes. So if you really look at it, in this kind of a country, marketing is different and difficult. So to understand this kind of marketing, this kind of stuff, you have to work in the real environment. So when you come out of campus, you are largely theoretical. Yes, you do have guest lectures from people who come in from management schools, into the management school, from companies, etc. But that's not enough transition of knowledge. It's extremely important for you to hit the road with your feet, running and understanding the real market. And my advice to youngsters most of the time is join in sales. Don't join in marketing. Because marketing is the glamorous portion of it. Marketing will come later. But if you have a strong background of sales for 2 years in a good company, marketing, you will become automatically a marketer.
It was really, again, a very wonderful advice from your side. I'm quite impressed, sir, from this answer of yours. Sir, my next question to you, what we have seen, sir, what do you believe, sir, what should not be the expectation of entrepreneurs in initial days while starting?
Well, an entrepreneur is a very, very passionate guy, and his expectations will always be high. And so I don't want to dampen those expectations. But extremely important for an entrepreneur to understand that it's important to take baby steps. And those baby steps must be intelligent baby steps, guided by mentors. If you do that right, then your expectations also will build up slowly. You cannot have an expectation of 100 and start with an expectation of 2. You must start, with the situation of saying that I have an expectation of 100, but I start and hitting 50. Because if you're hitting 50, your motivation levels are correct. So extremely important to set realistic goals. That 100 itself should be set up in a realistic manner. And I think there is a science in setting those goals. And that, to an extent, is a smart marketing and a smart business school.
All right, sir. Sir, I don't want to waste you much time. So moving to my last question of this session, which is, sir, what advice will be from your side to our viewers, those who are watching this session, for building an effective marketing strategy?
Okay, my one piece of advice to you who's going to enter into the market, who are going to enter into the market now, is to say that forget everything that you've done in the past. Because I define the current day to be COVID Kal. I call it COVID Kal. And I tend to say that, in COVID Kal, everything has changed. Because COVID is an era when we've been told to take it easy. It is nature's call of a different kind, where nature is telling us, take it easy, take it slow. Everything is redefined. The world defines development as something. And I think COVID Kal is redefining and telling you to take a step backwards, sit back, think more holistic, think more in the old definition of development. The old definition of development could have been cut down those trees and put up those buildings. The new definition post-COVID Kal could be bring down those buildings and plant trees. Do you understand what I'm saying? I'm trying to say that, hey, listen guys, this is a new world. If you as an entrepreneur, if you as a young worker in the marketplace think differently during COVID Kal, you will do well. If you go back to the old way of doing business as usual, you will run, but you will also be and also ran. To be different, to jump out, you have to think different in COVID Kal, particularly post-COVID Kal.
Again, sir, it was really a great advice from your side. Thank you so much, sir, for giving most important time to us. It was really a great session with you. Thank you so much, sir, for joining and agreeing to share your thoughts with us.
Welcome. Take care.
Thank you so much, sir.
Bye, everybody. All the best.